If you've ever felt lost between your fears and your dreams, then this story will call out to you. Because sometimes the treasure we chase in the world is just the mirror of the treasure hidden within. It began on a quiet afternoon in the old town of Rama, a place where time seemed to move slower and the wind carried stories from centuries past. Four friends, Ryan, Adil, Safa, and Iman, sat beneath the ancient fig tree behind their school, a spot that had witnessed every secret they'd ever shared. The summer sun burned gold in the sky, and boredom had turned their laughter into long, lazy silences. Then, as if fate had grown tired of their stillness, Adil's hand brushed against something buried under the dry leaves near the tree's roots. A small wooden box, locked and old enough to belong to another era. Inside, they found a torn piece of parchment folded with care. The paper smelled of dust and mystery. Its edges were brittle, and across it ran faded ink drawings, hills, rivers, and strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the light. At the very center, written in uneven handwriting, were the words, "The treasure of the forgotten mind lies where the shadow meets the sun." Safa tilted her head. "The shadow meets the sun? That sounds like a riddle," Adil finished, eyes gleaming. Iman frowned. "Or a trap." Ryan, the quietest of the group, traced the ink with his finger. "No, it's a message. Look, this mountain here, it's shaped like a crown. That's near the Valley of Winds, just past the old caves." Adil looked up sharply. "Your grandfather used to tell stories about hidden treasures in that valley, didn't he?" Ryan nodded slowly. Everyone thought they were just stories. Safa smiled. Maybe they weren't. That night, the four friends made a pact. Under the starlit sky, they packed a small bag each, a lantern, a compass, a rope, and enough food for a day's journey. They didn't tell anyone where they were going. They didn't need to. Something about the map felt like it was calling only to them, as if it had waited years for the right hearts to find it. And when the morning came, they began their journey toward the place where shadows and sunlight would meet. The road was long and uneven, winding through fields of wild lavender and stretches of silver rock. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became, as though nature itself was holding its breath. Iman carried the compass, though it often spun wildly, as if unsure of where to point. Safa tried to keep spirits high by humming old folk songs. Adil joked now and then, but his laughter carried an edge, a mix of excitement and fear. By noon, they reached the edge of the Valley of Winds. Before them rose the mountain shaped like a crown, exactly as it appeared on the map. At its base was a vast cave mouth, dark and deep, breathing cold air, like the sigh of a sleeping beast. Adil checked the parchment again. "It says the treasure is beyond the mouth of the mountain, where shadows breathe. This must be it." Ryan nodded, holding his lantern high. "Then this is where we enter." The moment they stepped inside, the air changed. The wind outside vanished, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to swallow sound. The cave walls glistened with veins of crystal, reflecting the flickering light. As they walked deeper, their shadows stretched long behind them, unnaturally long. The path narrowed, forcing them to walk in single file. Safa felt a chill creep up her spine. "Does anyone else feel like we're being watched?" she whispered. "By what? Rocks?" But then something moved, not in the distance, in the walls. Their own shadows had begun to twitch, to bend, to move out of sync. Ryan froze. Wait, the shadows on the wall were no longer mimicking them. They were alive. One by one, they straightened, standing apart from their owners. And then, in voices like echoes from their dreams, the shadows began to speak. "You seek treasure," hissed Iman's shadow, "but all you desire is to feel worthy." Adil's shadow stepped forward. You crave to prove yourself, to silence the fear that you are nothing. Safa's shadow whispered. You hide your pain behind laughter. And finally, Ryan's shadow spoke softly. You pretend to be calm, but you fear your own darkness more than death. Their breaths came fast. The air felt heavy, the cave alive with memories they had buried. Safa covered her ears. Make it stop! But Ryan held up his hand. No, maybe this is the test. He stepped closer to his shadow, staring into its hollow eyes. You're not my enemy, he said slowly. You're my reflection, my fear, my truth. The shadow blinked. Then why did you run from me? Because I didn't know you were part of me. Something in the cave shifted. A pulse, a light, a sigh. The other shadows stopped moving. And then one by one, they merged back into the friends, dissolving like smoke. At the far end of the cavern, they found a stone altar. On it lay a small, ancient box covered in dust. Adil opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a mirror, its surface cracked yet gleaming. Etched below it were the words, "He who masters his shadow masters his mind." When they stepped out of the cave, dawn was breaking. The sun rose over the mountain, and for a brief, magical moment, light and shadow blended, exactly as the map had promised. They stood together in silence, breathing in the cool morning air. The fear in their hearts was gone, replaced by something deeper, clarity. Safa finally broke the silence. So the treasure was never gold. Ryan smiled faintly. No, it was truth. Adil nodded. We thought we were searching for something out there, but the real journey was in here. He tapped his chest. Iman laughed softly, shaking his head. Guess we just met the parts of ourselves we were running from. And as they walked down the mountain, their shadows followed quietly, no longer dark or wild, but calm and whole. Somewhere deep inside the cave, the mirror waited for the next seekers, but only those brave enough to face their own reflections would ever find it. So remember, my friends, the greatest treasure is not found in the world, but within the mind that dares to face its own darkness. When you master your shadow, you unlock your hidden power. If this story awakened something inside you, subscribe for more timeless tales that teach the courage to face your inner world and master your light.